All right, happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Welcome to Naoto's barbecue hour. Looks like Naoto's making us some hot pot today. Now, what's going on today, Naoto? What are we going to learn about?
Today we're going to show how to make. No, it's not cooking. It's the we do have a burner or the stove here, but I'm going to show you how to rehandle the Japanese traditional Japanese knives. Not so much on the handle like the traditional European knives with the rivets and stuff like that, but it's going to be a rehandling of the traditional, we call it the Japanese wa handle. Okay.
Yeah, those Western handles are a bit of a different process, right? So we're going to show kind of the more traditional way to rehandle Japanese knives, and you're going to do a few different methods today too, right? Now to kind of show us some different tricks and different techniques.
Yeah, there are. I'm going to work with this one handle on the more traditional handle. It's wrapped in the plastic wrap, but this is a ebony. Another one is the. It's getting more popularity these days. Those handles that's a little bit more like this. It's very uniquely made, one-off type of handle that fits like this way.
And more importantly, made from stabilized wood, which I understand needs some different kind of handling than literally different handling than the Japanese style, like the more traditional materials.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do first is really the why I guess you need to change the handles sometimes, or you want to change the handles, and how to get the handle off. Few things. I am replacing the handle on this Sakai Takayuki Aoniko, the blue carbon 2 knife here, because the humidity in Calgary, where we are right now, it's very, very dry. It's almost like a desert, like a humidity.
Yeah. There's almost no humidity here. If anybody out there hasn't been to Alberta before, I don't recommend it. It's a beautiful province, but it is dry as a bone here. It's insane.
Yeah. Anywhere from the Rocky Mountain all the way to Great Lakes, up in Canada here, those prairie provinces are super, super dry. So the dryness or the humidity, very low humidity, will suck all the moisture from the wood, and resulting wood to shrink. That happens to the water buffalo horn that they use it on the collar of the handle as well. And when they shrink quite rapidly or fast speed, what would do is that they crack. So that's why I am replacing the handle to be able to sell it, I guess, right? I guess.
Yeah, and it's a real shame when you get those fancy materials and it ends up splitting like that. But it's a real consideration if you're looking at getting a really fancy knife. Is it going to survive the conditions you're in, and are you going to have to put extra care in? I know in Alberta, any piece of antler or horn that I have, like I've got an old shoe horn that's made out of water buffalo horn. You got to oil it and take care of it just as you would a cutting board or any other knife handle.
Yeah, so it can happen. So oil it, moisturize it. That's really the best way to prevent that from happening. Also, some people want to change the handle really just because to make it look fancier or look better. This is a good example.
Well, speaking of which, Christian Bouchard just jumped in the comments that I recognize that knife.
I am going to install this one right in front of you, Christian.
I was hoping you would tune in. I forgot to mention that we were going to be rehandling it today, but I'm glad he made it to the broadcast, because it's going to be a cool looking. I mean, Yuki's are already cool knives, but it's going to be extra cool after we put that handle on it.
And I'll show you how it's done. So first of all, when you have the perfectly good knife, those knives, you want to take the handle off. This is how we do. This is being cooking. No, it's not really being cooking, but the
nicely steeped handle tea.
Yeah. So here, we use this French press because it's long enough for the handle to soak in really good. But I just pour the hot water and let it soak for about 10-15 minutes. I think I soaked them a little bit longer than that. But what this will do is so those handles, they do have all like plastic glue inside to bond the place that the knife in place. So I am using this hot water to melt most of the glue inside. So I usually keep them about 10-15 minutes till that the glue melts. And I use, this says Rehandling stick.
Yeah. A very high-tech piece of equipment you have there, Naoto.
And I put that against the knife like this here. It's hard to see. I hold it like this, and I hit right here. I hold it like this, and I hit here, so that it moves. That's hard.
Yeah, if you're going to try this at home, be careful, guys. Maybe, put something on the edge or wrap it in a towel. Naoto has done this a lot. He is what you would call a professional. Our buddy Blank Blank was tuned in last night and said that this is kind of the most satisfying part of rehandling a knife is when that handle finally pops off. It's a pretty exciting moment.
Yep.
And Francis Liu, who was on last night, who works in our Vancouver store, says, your stick is bigger than ours, referring to Vancouver.
Well, the longer that it's better when you are doing that, the 300 mil and stuff like that, right? So
right.
You hit a few times, it starts to come loose.
Oh, wow.
And you can actually pop this off here. As you can see, I don't know which camera I should be using, but I think...
Yeah, that looks good, your phone camera there.
So you can see all the glues right here. What I usually use is I have our little small Higo knife, and I just scrape it with the Higo.
Yeah, that Higo has a nice strong edge. It's good for doing kind of rougher tasks like that. So that's just glue then, all that black and brown.
Yeah, well, this rubbly thing is the glue. Black is basically the part that has not been polished. Right?
Oh, so that's actually the steel then.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So this
Sean, who works in our Ottawa shop, agrees that it's a very good feeling when you finally get that handle off. I know some of them can be extra stubborn.
Yeah, they can be. Sometimes the harder ones are ones made out of the collar made out of the plastic, like the Masekage Mizu handle. Those are very stubborn. And sometimes soaking them in the water for long, they will basically soften the plastic, and they become very hard to remove. And sometimes when I tried to remove them, I basically ended up breaking it with the anvil. And
yeah, I remember seeing Jeffrey, who used to work in the Calgary store, just smashing a handle between a piece of sidewalk and a hammer, and that was basically the only way.
So this is how we take this handle off. Pretty easy, straightforward. If you have the mallet and the piece of wood that's long enough, there's a few other ways that you could do. I've done this way before.
It's a pretty low tech setup you have here. You just have a simple kind of burner and a mallet and a piece of wood, right?
Another way to remove, if you don't have the long enough the wood like this, I would usually use small wood like this. This is long enough for anything actually, and I will put this one right here, clamp them with my fingers like this. It's gonna hurt my index finger really bad, but I sometimes do hold it like this and hit it. So that the mallet is not, knocking the tip of the knife, and just
that makes sense.
Like this. But Oh, it's coming off. And for those who has a knife that started to the handle started to come loose, something that you can do at home to restore it is to knock the handle. So hold the knife like this way and hit the hammer or mallet from the what you call it, the bottom,
From the bottom.
Yeah. So I will show you what happened. So I was doing this, few knocks. Yeah. So you can see, I'm just going to show you here. You can see the part, that the little brownish part right here. It started to actually come separate. I can just probably do a little bit more so that the people can see better. So you see here.
Yeah, bit of separation there.
So if you start to see the knife starting to look like this, hold the knife from on the handle, hit it from the handle, like the bottom of the handle. Few knocks will actually bring that back here.
Same thing you can do with an old axe if it's starting to get loose.
Yeah.
Basically the exact same technique, just knock on that bottom of the handle and that'll kind of pop it back up a bit.
It will start to sink in a little bit easy, right? So
Yeah.
that's how you wanna you can take the handle.
How to remove the handle? Yeah. What if you've got an especially stubborn handle? If it, at a certain point, would you just kind of do the hammer and anvil method that you mentioned you had to do once or twice?
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, just be careful, be safe. You're not cutting yourself or anything around you. Just going to pop in with a few viewer questions and comments. Fighting Usyk, who was here last night too, says, long week, so got me a cold beer and just going to geek out with you folks for a bit. Thanks everybody for tuning in, by the way. It's good to see you all. I imagine everybody watching is probably subscribed already, but if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we'd love it if you did. We'd even appreciate it if you like the video too. That is very helpful to us, and it helps us be successful on YouTube. I know last night they were supposed to spray Francis if they got 25 likes. We're not going to do anything that fun, but we'll be very happy and thankful if you do like the video. James Wang is back again, says, one of my Shigefusa Gyutos has a cracked handle. Think of rehandling it.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Again, it's the water buffalo horn and a humidity issue. Even I know
and he's in Vancouver too, right?
It still happens, right? So just be a little bit of careful. Yeah. Do you see other comments? Anything?
Yeah, a few questions more so just about the technique we're using. Craig's Kitchen Rocks says, how hot is the water? Is it boiling?
I pour the boiling water.
Okay.
I pour the boiling water, let it sit for a little while. Yeah, the boiling water is fine.
Okay, cool.
Like some people, they use they actually put that in the pan or in the saucepan.
Yeah.
And they just boil it.
And actually boil it, yeah.
And it's really, I've done it once, and I wouldn't recommend it. It's fast, but you make the knife really hot as well. So it was really good to touch after that. So
yeah, that makes sense. Fighting Usyk was wondering, must have missed it, but what is the knife Naoto's working on? I don't think we mentioned the specific make.
I didn't mention that. The other one I was working on was the Sakai Takayuki, the Uzushio series. It's a Damascus pattern deba. It's got a cracked handle on it, so I decided to remove it and rehandle them. I am actually waiting on the exact handle from the maker, so I am not going to do this. I just wanted to show everyone how to remove the handle. So that's the part. And what I'm working on right now, what I will be working on is this guy here, a Sakai Takayuki Aoniko with the Aoniko, the blue carbon number 2, Yanagiba with the ebony handle. So I'm going to handle this guy here. So how those handles are made is that they are like this octagon or whatever. They shape it, then put the holes in. But usually the holes are smaller than the whole tang. So when you actually insert this in the knife, it doesn't go all the way in. And this is actually one of the ones that actually went in a little bit farther than I've seen. But sometimes they just like, they goes in here. And what you have to do is, and what we are doing is that use this burner or thing, heat up the tang hot enough to burn it inside. So it will burn the wood inside.
Yeah.
And create enough space there. Okay.
Right. So you're, rather than using a woodworking tool, you're actually using the tang of the knife to get the best fit.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
In.
Do you have, say somebody was rehandling and the handle was really not fit super well, like maybe it had a really narrow slot, or maybe they want to rehandle just a knife that has a really fat tang. Do you have any recommendations for fitting something that really doesn't fit well?
I would there are two ways that you could do. Often though, I would grind the tang down. So I would use a bell sounder or a sounding tool to grind the tang down. What you could other ways to use that little tool to work inside of this one here.
Yeah, there's a few different. I mean, you can do it real jerry rigged like I do with a power drill, or there are tools that actually are a piece of metal with some kind of teeth to gouge out the inside a bit. I'm gonna pop a couple more questions if you don't mind, or are we working on a timeline here with the handle?
I have a few minutes here.
Okay, cool. So while that steel's heating up, question from Damon that I think we kind of missed last night. Have either of you guys had a chance to handle those new Mizaki Migaki Gyutos yet? Don't own any Mizaki knives, but his keep catching my eye lately.
I have on the handle. Well, I mean handle as.
Yeah. So he clarified afterwards. He said, I mean, play with. Yeah. That could be confusing.
I have seen it. I have actually held it for. His profiles changed quite significantly. I may actually have one there, so I can grab one later on, like after doing this, because I don't want to just leave this in.
Yeah, yeah. I can keep an eye on it, but I can't do anything if it goes wrong.
Right?
Yeah, I'll just yell at you.
Yeah.
Call the fire department.
Well, it's like kind of.
We've already had the fire department called on us once. We probably don't need it to happen again. Damon, remind us in a bit, and we'll or Naoto might be grabbing that right now. Fighting Usik says that this is how gun stocks used to be fitted. I'm guessing he means by burning in the steel into the wood, which is I find really interesting. I've just been getting into rifles myself, so interesting fact there. Question from TJ Ronan, who I haven't seen for a little while. Konosuke Sumiro Gyuto, do you have any?
We don't. The Konosuke Sumiro is done by a. That Sumiro is done by Konosuke. No, not Konosuke. That's made by who is it? Yoshikane. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, similar one that you can get is the. I mean, Masashi-san used to be working at Yoshikane, and he decided to move on because Yoshikane was doing a little bit more like fast tracking. He was like doing a little bit of fast tracking shortcuts and stuff like that. So Masashi-san decided to, start his own workshop. So
right.
It's very.
That's sort of why Masashi-san's where he is now is for that reason, right?
Yeah. So
right. Yeah, we don't carry a lot of stuff from Konosuke anymore. We used to carry the Sakura line and the mirror and some other stuff.
Something very similar if you're looking for something a little bit better made. Say, Sumiro is good, but the particular knife is actually 80% forged in a factory and like finished a little bit in at the Yoshikane and sharpened it really well. Don't get me wrong, but the whole forging thing is slightly different. But the whatchamacallit, our which one's that? The all Sakai Sumi is really nice. Like very similar aesthetic, but okay. Okay, what I'm going to do, I heat up the tang. It's pretty hot. I'm not gonna touch this. That's why I'm wearing the glove right here. And what I would do is to put this, try to fit this here, and hit it from that. Oh, it was pretty easy.
Ooh, quick.
Oh, there you go. That's super easy. Like
Wow.
yeah. Oh, I cracked. That's it cracked.
Oh no.
Yeah, if you do it too, it's not too hard, but the I think the handle itself was pretty dry to begin with.
Yeah. Would you recommend hydrating the wood with some oil before you start fitting it if you are going to be doing this burning method?
Not really usually. Ebony may have needed, and also this water buffalo horn part may needed that, but usually not.
Yeah.
Usually not. But
So try again then, hey?
I will need actually another handle. I could try the other handle and sell it at the garage sale. So I'm gonna. So this is no use. So I'm gonna. For this, I have.
So if anyone's got questions, we've got some great questions coming up in the comments here. But if you have questions for Naoto, pop them in the comments. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about knife rehandling today. Obviously, some of the risks associated with rehandling, as you can see, we just had a handle crack there. But techniques to how to do it properly. Pitfalls to avoid. And some of the issues with handles in general. We've been talking about humidity, and that can be a big problem, especially where we are in Alberta. Naoto, you close enough to answer a question?
Yeah, I am just choosing the handle, but I can definitely answer some of those.
Right on. So Hovanna says, right now I'm rehandling a knife, white number 1. Do I need to force a patina / wax or anything else so it won't rust again? Hovanna, I assume you're talking about the actual tang of the knife, the part that's going into that handle. So would you treat it in any way, wax it or patina it?
No, not really. The where the handle goes in, you don't really have to do anything. Again, it is burning, so it will darken. It will become a black as well. So you don't really have to do much about it.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you want to polish it, it's fine, but you don't really need to. Like especially the way that I am doing. I grab the handle here, the Nagi handle. What the massage uses. Hopefully this fits the hole itself. I'm just gonna show it here.
Oh yeah.
This and
nice and big.
no, it's actually not. Compare it to.
Oh wow! Holy.
Small. So not sure. The length is the same, so hopefully it's gonna work.
Yeah. We've got an interesting note here from Son Wayan. It says, I'm using a lot of duct tape around the ferrule to prevent cracking. It tends to crack on the top rather than the middle or the bottom. What do you think about that? Have you tried that out at all?
No, I have never tried the duct tape method, actually. So that may be actually pretty good. It's the...
Yeah. Sounds legit. I mean, as long as you're not, forcing the wood too much, like you're still burning the tang in properly, so you have enough space for it. Otherwise, it might crack afterwards. But yeah, that's smart.
So like this is very small hole. Here for this tang. You see a lot of smoke in action. I will do it a little bit more slower than the I would usually do. Okay. From here. it's like it's tight. It's like really tight. It's so I'm gonna have to do it a few times.
While you're working on that, are there any like techniques when you're burning that handle in? Like if I just went and did it, I imagine there's a lot of things I could do wrong. So how are you setting it in there? Are you making sure it's straight? Are you doing it gently? Like what's your process?
Making sure it's straight. Also the I'm making sure it's straight. Making sure it's the I don't go like force them in because the if I force too much, it will just gonna crack it too, right? Especially the hole that's small, it actually became a little bit bigger, but I am basically burning so that the wood is start to actually opens up a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
And also another thing is that you don't want to heat up your steel too much.
Right, because that can mess with the knife.
Yeah, it can mess with.
In case anyone's not aware, what's the risk that you're running if you make the knife too hot?
It's when you're making knife too hot, it will lose its hardness.
Right.
I am just like pouring the water. Yeah.
And so do you avoid overheating just by kind of touching the base of the blade and just making sure that part's not getting too warm?
If I'm like say if I'm heating up and try to put that in, certainly some parts are a little bit too hot to touch. But I don't wanna just go put it back on to heat it up again because it just keeps heating up. So some indication for the overheat is the color of the metal. If it blackens, if it becomes too dark or black, that's obviously too hot. Or the bluing, it changes the color to blue. That's something that you want to avoid. And obviously, if you can't touch it, it's a little too hot. Right? So
yeah, that makes sense. Fighting Yusik has a good question here. Naoto, do you ever still get knives that you're intimidated to work on?
I especially for sharpening, I have very little experience with the with honyaki knives. So that's something that I have to be really careful when I'm sharpening it. I'm not really intimidated, but I have to be a little.
You take your time.
Yeah, take my time, and depends on type of finish and stuff that the customer wants. I have to be a little bit more careful. What the customer is expecting and such, right? Especially the single level honyakis. Oftentimes they are sharp. That the bevel part is near polished and stuff, which we will have the really difficult time bringing the near finish back. So that's something that we have to be really careful for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially if it's anytime you're kind of learning a new skill or just practicing something you're not super familiar with. It's a time to be careful and take your time.
Yeah.
TJ Ronan is wondering, said, I'm thinking of pulling the trigger on Jiro Nakagawa. What's your opinion, guys?
Jiro is nice. I've never held it. I have talked to a Japanese one of my Instagram follower about the Jiro-san's knife. Seems like it's pretty good. It's got a little bit more heft than the others because it's got very traditional swordsmithing, swordsmith way of making it. It's got really at the whatchamacallit, they got a tang where the handle meets, and it's really really good.
Oh, interesting.
It's good the workforce. But he is a swordsmith. He's not the kitchen knife maker. He has been making kitchen knife for about probably 5 years or so. But you won't go wrong with it. It's pretty. I believe it's good.
Cool. I wonder if James Wang has one because he's got a pretty large collection. Maybe he can give us some feedback. So how's that burning going?
Roll up this one, please.
This is the chill episode of Naoto's Nerd Hour, folks. This process takes time and patience, and it's not something you want to rush through.
Yeah, probably. Let's go. So I may just gonna actually try something else because something that people want to know is that those handles are depends on where the knives are made. Handles, each regions have different handle makers, and the oftentimes those handle makers makes the blade or the handle for that particular region. So the other one that I was working on was made in the Niigata, and this knife was made in Sakai. And the size of tang might have not been the best fit.
Right, and that I mean that raises an interesting point about regional differences, which has come up a lot in the last few episodes where we've talked about different blacksmiths and knife sharpeners.
Yeah.
But that's something we're actually going to talk about next month. We've been coming up with topics for shows to do in April and May. If anybody has suggestions of what they want to see Naoto do, please let us know. We've got lots of good ideas, but of course we always want to hear your ideas because that's likely what you folks are actually going to want to watch. But we are going to do one, talk about the regional differences between different knife makers. Who prefers, certain handle styles, certain tang styles, certain finishes and styles of blacksmithing, and so on and so forth.
So,
but yeah, let us know in the comments what you want to see.
yeah, I just had that little crack. One thing that a lot of knife makers do, I wanted to show you, is to use these blanks. We don't have one for Yanagi, that's why I wasn't using it. But these blanks come super, super handy because those blanks, what it does is that these were just a piece of metal. It's not been heat treated or anything, but it's just forged. So this one is the great casting tool. What you could do is just heat it up as much as you want, and it can help to open up the hole a little bit. I'll show you how it's done. That one's probably easier to show. And while doing that, I will show you I will show people this here. Who was that asking for Mazaki? Mazaki-san. Here. It's pretty good. The profile is very interesting and unique. His way of sharpening, I like it where the tip part goes like pretty aggressively goes up like this.
I realized I was muted. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that was Damon Spector. Thanks, Sean. I muted my mic.
It's got really thick tang right here, and it tapers it down very, very nicely. Yeah, it's a little bit more workhorse-ish type of the sharpening on the heel, and but it's got a really nice convex to it. So convexity is fantastic on this. Relatively light for the size like this, and white carbon number 2. Yeah. So,
yeah, that's a gorgeous knife. Damon, if there's anything specific you want to know about that, I mean, I don't think we've cut with any yet, but let us know if you got questions, if you want to see a choil shot or anything like that. Blank just tuned in, says, "Sup guys, did I miss it?" No, we cracked the handle so far, and we're just doing some rehandling, kind of a quiet Naoto's Nerd Hour today, just answering questions and stuff. So if you got any, pop them in the comments. Good to see you, buddy.
So you see that the knife, this part is getting reddish. Like, I don't know if you can see, but I don't have to care about them. So what happens is that so this one here, Nakiri, this is great to do a say Santoku, Gyuto, 210, stuff like that. And we're just gonna heat it up as much as we want. Then just we just do this.
Woo!
So opens up the it opens up the hole a lot more.
Does it ever? Holy.
don't worry, everyone. This warehousing space does not have a fire alarm, so it's not gonna. We will not see any firefighters coming in.
Yeah, only for Chris. Naoto doesn't get firefighters.
So here, he actually made it quite
Yeah.
good so that it fits things a little bit easy. Okay.
No kidding.
That's
Hey,
all.
Fighting Usyk raised a really good point. He says there's 21 people watching, but there's only 9 likes. Come on, guys.
Thank you.
If you like the video, like it. If you don't like it, fair enough. But if you like it, like it. And if you're not subscribed, come on. We would really, really appreciate it. No pressure, but it's very helpful to us, and it means we get to keep doing this for work.
Yeah, this is what the Shiba uses. Like, he doesn't have actually this part. He only has only a small portion. It's just really all they need is the like same thickness of tang, right? So it burns it first, then we fit the other handles.
So sorry, that's like a proxy knife. That's not the knife you're actually rehandling. You're just using that, hey?
No, this is really the like open up the hole.
So that's really smart.
Yeah, and this one is not being heat treated or anything like that. I don't have to worry about the overheating the steel. So this is something that it comes super handy, especially when I have to do lots of rehandling.
Yeah, that's super smart. I love it. Fighting Usyk says Chris Lord can't cook a lamb neck without the fire department showing up, but Naoto can have a small campfire. You're not wrong. I mean, I think Naoto produced quite a bit more smoke there, and there's no real issue.
So that's how we get the holes, and again, when you, I want to actually show you how, but say for example, I'm gonna try it again, but also I did crack this newer handle as well, so I don't want to make it too much. But I tried to open this one a little bit. This is one of the samples that we got, so it's fine.
Yeah.
And
that's showbiz. You gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet, as they say.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm gonna actually heat it up here for a little while and see how it goes. But for those of you who's watching, if you have any questions about anything, not only just the handling, just let us know, because we're here to answer any questions.
Something that not many people ask about in the comments, but is a great thing to ask about, is Japanese food, because Naoto is a very good cook. He has cooked at some of our staff parties in the past and made some incredible food. And if you check out his Instagram, at NaotoKW, that's NaotoKW, you'll see a combination of really crazy knife repairs and really, really delicious food. So if you want to know about cooking Japanese stuff, he is your guy. Great question a few minutes ago from Craig's Kitchen Rocks. It says, is leaving a machi, for those of you that don't know, the machi's the space that they leave in Sakai between sort of the tang and the handle. Is leaving a machi purely for style these days? Is it more common in certain geographic areas?
Yes, it's really common in the certain geographic areas, like a Sakai. It is one is very what do we call it, the aesthetic. But also what they used to do is each professional chefs and each like knife users in Japan, they had their own preference on how big the machi they want. That's why they made a machi, and sometimes they leave the machi quite large or be small. And also, if they want to make the gap smaller, they can just, as I showed you a little bit earlier, you can just tap from the bottom to close the gap too, right? So that was a little bit of a adjusting mechanism, I say a little bit, right? So it made the knife bit adjustable. And if you rehandle a, like, for example, Sakai knife that's got a machi on it, do you
do you usually leave it? Do you leave it up to the owner of the knife whether or not they want to keep that gap?
I leave it tiny bit usually, and but I don't go all the way down. And also, if you look at the machi, they are not at the exact same height. It's like if you look at this guy here,
like on one knife, the two sides are going to be slightly uneven from each other.
Oftentimes, yeah, like this one here. So machi is the for those people who don't know, machi is this like the really hard here, like this here.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's slightly different on either side.
So it's the on this one, the spine side. Okay, this is better. Spine side is a little bit the farther towards the blade, and the edge side is a little bit more towards the handle. So even if you put this one right all the way into the to the handle, it doesn't like it will create slight gap. If that makes sense.
Interesting. That's smart because I imagine it's probably somewhat difficult to leave a gap intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Lots more questions here. Great questions, by the way. This is a challenging one, but Tim Chan says, bought a handle from China. There's actually a tang stuck in it. What do I do? I don't have the answer, Tim. Hopefully Naoto does.
Tang stuck in it?
Yeah. Like the knife was maybe just snapped off, and there's just like when you get your key stuck in the door and then it breaks off.
That's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, I mean, if you have access to maybe a drill press, you could try doing it with power drill, but I think getting that steel and not destroying the wood around it is going to be damn near impossible.
Yeah, that's hard. We've had some cases where some Takeda knives snapped right in half where it needs to stand.
Yeah, it's uncommon, but we've had a few happen that way, right?
We had a few, and it was very hard for us to rehandle them.
Yeah, I mean, you could always drill a hole in the other end and try to force it out with a rod of some kind, but then you're going to need to seal that back up with an epoxy or a filler. You could also try maybe causing the wood to contract or expand a little bit, but that might just cause the wood to crack, and it's going to be pretty tough.
If you still see, like this tool with the, say for example, so say if you have knife like this, and if you have enough space there to do something like this, that's good. But the otherwise, it's really hard.
Yeah, got a couple ideas in the comments. Blank says heat it up and knock it on something maybe, which is not a terrible idea. Yeah, that's probably one of the best bets. Try hitting it from below and knocking that tang up. And Sean Coots, who works in our Ottawa shop and does lots of knife maintenance, says stick it in boiling water, tap from the front of the handle, and see if you can sneak it forward enough so you can get needle nose pliers into it. Yeah, if you have a tool that can grip really well into, hopefully there's a little bit of steel exposed there, Tim. Otherwise, you might be a little bit up shit creek, as they say. But I hope not. I hope you're able to figure out that handle.
So in the meantime, what I would do is gonna show you. I'm gonna do is that Christians? Yeah, Christian Bush? No, yeah.
Yeah, Christian, who has the Yuki. I don't know if you're still watching, Christian, but I believe we're about to rehandle your Masakage Yuki that you brought for custom handle.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you a little bit. This is the little tool to hold the knife in place. These custom handles, we get it from the guy in the States. I don't know if you watch it, but
And you'll see lots of these handles popping up in the garage sale in the spring. We get all sorts of unusual knives from Japan, but over the last year or two, we've started to get more of these kind of special custom handles. And so at the garage sale, May 17th to 24th, we'll have all sorts of funky knife handles put onto different knives.
so the what this is done different from the regular handles is that the stabilized, they were made out of the stabilized wood, and they are not as a they don't want to like be heated up like a regular handle like make, so that the what I had to do, they come in something like this, and the hole is like this, right? And when you try to fit it, it doesn't fit all the way in. So what I did to fit this knife nicely is that the carved the handle, each one with a little tool like this. I wish we had a Dremel, but we don't. But these tool, and I just make it big enough. So each one fits and sits where it should be.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of work. That's why we charge a little bit, because from here, from this to this.
Oh yeah, that's quite the difference.
It's a bit of difference, and I made it so that the it fits only one way, and
Yeah.
and also doesn't.
So this is a much more surgical approach than the usual burn the handle in, whack it on kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go anywhere any farther than this, and
Nice.
how it's been, and also how it's been settled is that they usually use the epoxy. We do have really nice epoxy here, so this is what I am going to use on this one here. You can use the Gorilla Glue two-way epoxy and stuff like that as well if you like.
Yeah, we've used that before, and it seems to hold pretty well.
Yeah.
Tim Chan said about his handle, it's got the tang stuck in it. I might just split it and then stick it back together with a Hello Kitty Band-Aid. I think that would look pretty cool, Tim. That'd be a sweet custom handle. I got time for a couple questions while you're doing that, Naoto?
Yep, go ahead.
So Grant Hendrick, who tuned in today, said he tuned in earlier and said, "Happy Friday." Sorry I'm late, but he'll watch the beginning later. And thanks for liking the video, Grant. By the way, if you're watching right now, if you like the video and subscribe, it'll make us very happy. Thank you. Grant says, at some point, Naoto, can you please talk about the pros and cons of different kinds of wood? Think you have a little time for that right now?
Yeah. Most popular wood type, especially for the Japanese knife maker, is definitely a whole wood, or called magnolia here in North America. The white, lighter colored wood. The reason why that is really popular is that that particular wood is soft enough, especially for those professional chefs in Japan. They would actually, I mean, like what you call it, the wood like a actually put too much in it. Wood like a rosewood or the ebonies are pretty popular, but whole wood is very practical because it's soft enough that it's going to carve it down into the position. Sorry, I'm going to just pour a little bit.
Yeah, from what I understand, whole wood's quite affordable and reliable and easy to use, easy to work with if you're making handles.
Yes.
Shinuki 23 says, "Hello, Knifewear crew from Thailand." Hello in Thailand. I hope it's going well. I think we got people watching sort of all over the place. And blank says, almost done cooking dinner. Used my Miyabi VG10 Kaizen, polished the edge all the way to a mirror, and went right through a tomato skin I cut. I feel like people may be accidentally rounding. Oh, interesting. Maybe accidentally rounding their edges when they say they can't cut tomatoes with a polished edge. Yeah, it's quite possible. Sometimes having a really smooth edge too means that it won't bite into skins like tomato and pepper skins quite as easily. So it might depend on the kind of grit that you used. I'm curious to know what grit you used, blank. So you were talking about hoe wood, Naoto. You said it's fairly affordable and easy to work with. Are there other woods that are fairly common for knife handles?
Yeah, and the more expensive ones like a ebony usually used for a something like a little bit more higher end knife because ebony handle is a little bit more denser, it lasts a little bit longer, as well as it's a little bit heavier, so that the counterbalance is a little bit nicer. But whole wood, another reason why again whole wood is being really popular is that as you use it for a longer period of time, it will start to carve it down into your hand that looks almost like a ergonomic handle for you. It's like becomes a custom handle for your hand.
Right. Yeah. It kind of.
You hold it in the same way, like 50 years later, the handle becomes the shape of your hand.
Oh, it's like memory foam.
Yeah, but it takes a little bit longer.
I've seen some of those, like some of the more octagonal knives that are used quite regularly by professionals. They're using their knife for 8 hours a day or so. I've seen the edges really wear down, and the knife starts to take the person's shape of the person's hand just like over the course of a few years because they use their knife so much.
Yeah. So here, I just put the epoxy in and just wipe the excess. This is pretty strong epoxy that actually, as soon as it touches my skin, it just sticks. But it doesn't do it on this. Here it still moves. So what I'm going to do is just checking if it's centered from the top to bottom, and I will put that on this guy right here. This is a very similar technique to keep the do that. That's done by Takeda-san. We stole the idea that Takeda-san does. So it's cut off and I put slice in there. So wait until it kind of settles, and once it's done, we'll bring it to the store for you, Chris, to pick it up.
Awesome. Yeah, that's Christian's knife. It looks great.
Yeah. I may do a little bit of. I may show you a little bit of other techniques like a wood filling and stuff like that. Wood filling or gluing or something. So I don't have any knives to do that unless I have to like burn them in. But oftentimes when you burn the knife in and sets on the place, that used to be a method of putting the handle on, especially in Sakai regions and stuff like that. But it's start to change, and as you saw, I was taking the handle off. You can see the trace of glue, right? And that is relatively new things to do in the knife making world in Japan. But now a lot of people do use those glues. Often they are. We actually use this glue gun sticks that's been cut in small pieces, and we put this one in a handle, and he melts it and puts that in a place.
Yeah, that was how I learned when I used to work at the shop. Was just slot a bunch of those in and then burn the knife in, and it would stay in place pretty well.
Lots of Japanese knife makers use the small plastic chips. They pour them in and put it in place. Also, another method of doing it is to glue and also to fill that gap around the knife. There are a few ways. Traditionally, people use wax, the candle wax. Uh, so
Right. Okay. Interesting. And that was just to seal it from moisture, sort of.
what's that?
That was just to seal the handle from moisture, basically.
Bring the one that the massage son does and show you how he does it. Okay. Okay, so here. By the way, we got the Masashi Honesuki, Koi Honesuki.
Oh, when did that show up?
Like probably a week ago. So, but this here, if you look at the this part, it may be a little bit hard to see. Maybe good camera, but there is a little white part, and it is done by a him dropping the candle wax in, and he does it like by hand. He actually holds the he actually holds the candle, and he does it like this, and drops into place.
You must have pretty good aim with that by now. That's pretty crazy.
No, he does uh, every single job almost perfect. It's like crazy good. So that
Yeah,
was,
he's got Masashi has insane attention to detail. I have no idea how he's like able to achieve a lot of the stuff that he does.
yeah, I know. So he does that way. Often the times you see some sort of the wood um, wood fillers goes in between. These are easy because you just like squeeze out and push it in and wipe them off. Some uses a sort of a glue, wood glue, in between the handle as well. That's what Shibata-san does. He puts the wood glue, tap it so that it sinks in. Also, a few more, but it just makes a little bit of tap. Um, so that's another way of doing it. For this particular knife that I'm working on right now, it does create tiny bit of a space, so I may just gonna do a wood glue, just really to cap that the water does not go in. This particular glue, though, it's very strong, so I would be very surprised if it comes it comes loose after.
Cool. James Wang says he uses beeswax to fill up the gap when he's rehandling.
Actually, not bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like white part but yeah, good thing about those candle wax is that it solidifies a little bit at the lower temperature maybe, but he does like drops it, so it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, candle wax gets pretty hard and solid. Got a few questions to go through here. Blank says, can you do those rotary cuts? I forget what they're called. I believe it starts with a K, but yeah. He's asking food questions here.
It's called katsuramuki. I'm not that great. I could do. I was peeling a mountain yam yesterday and doing this. It was fine, but I could. I'm not that great, so that I don't get paper thin all the way around. I'm not the.
It's hard to do. It's really tough.
Yeah, I haven't done enough practices, but I've been starting to use a lot more, and a lot more peeling using knives these days too. So instead of just a peeler and do this, I've been doing lots. My wife never uses peelers for potatoes. She just uses knife to.
Oh wow!
So
yeah, it takes some skill to do well.
Yeah, it's very like I found it's very cultural little bit stuff as well. Like Japanese people like to use the knife to peel stuff. Like
yeah.
So
I see it a lot in like Eastern Europe as well.
Yeah, like the paring knife too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing is that the Japanese people use a little bit taller blade to do this.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm not that good at it. I'll take a paring knife or a vegetable peeler any day. Jason Boland is asking, I'm looking to swap from a plastic collar to wood or horn. Would it affect the balance of the knife or be mostly similar?
Mostly similar if it's just the type like the color material. it may be something you have to be considered is the what the plastic the handle, the wood part is made out of. Usually, the ones with the plastic that I've seen is the cherry, magnolia, or the burnt chestnut. That's a little bit lighter. If you were to change it to say ebony, it will definitely be quite a bit heavier than the one that you have. So that may change the balance a little bit. But the generally speaking, other wood types like a rosewood is not even as hard and dense as the ebony. So you could definitely go with something dark like a rosewood. Morado that we've been starting to carry, these were pretty good. It feels very similar to the American cherry that we have them on the koishis and stuff like that. So balance shouldn't change that much.
That's good to know. Yeah, it's nice to keep your knife feeling, about the same way, ideally. Damon Spector mentioned, personally, they don't go for fancy handles. They'd rather spend their money on steel. Totally understandable. But they were actually wondering if they could see a choil shot of that Mizaki Nishiji that we had earlier. So if you still got that handy, Naoto, love to see the choil of that knife.
Something that I have been trying to tell people about this choil shot is great. It does have this particular one here has great. Where's my camera? Right here. So this is good. It's got really nice paper. It's very nice. It's nice convexity as well. I'm trying on the main camera as well. But his convexity or the thickness here at the heel and the thickness at the tip is quite a bit different. And that's something that you have to be a little bit more be aware of. Because how he forges, he has such nice thick spine at the heel part and tapers it down to the tip. So if you were to think about the thickness, how thin that this knife is, you would actually see this shot. This taper.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because you're cutting this way, you oftentimes you want to make this heel slightly more stronger, and when you're cutting this way to cut it into the say onions and stuff, you want to make this part thinner. So you can see that taper difference a little bit there. Okay, so that's the but it's really, and he's starting to make the knife, the shape looks much more unique than the other blacksmith in that region there. It starts to actually start to have more. It starts to speak to that knife. Start to speak itself, I guess. If you look at if you look at the shape, that's Mazaki. That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah, some knife makers you can just spot from a mile away who made it. Yeah. Damon's comment about the spending money on fancier handles. There was a question that I seem to have lost, but I thought was a good question. Somebody was asking earlier about how much does the handle of the knife affect the price of it?
Quite a bit. The depends on the material, depends on the shape. This depends as well, but this one handle maker. Their round handle, their octagon handle on the same material is about twice as more expensive as the same material with the round.
Wow.
So it could affect the price of that particular knife quite a bit as well.
Yeah. So I mean, it's materials, it's labor, because there's, just like knives, there's professional artisans who are responsible for making these handles who are, this is their career. So they charge fairly, I would imagine.
Yeah, but depends on the manufacturer, the handle manufacturer as well. As I said, each region has their own handle manufacturers, and some of them just very similar from octagon to round. Some of them have quite a big difference in the prices as well. So
Yeah, it makes sense.
it really depends.
Fighting Usyk was asking, do you grind down your handles in quotation marks as you go, Naoto? I've seen sushi chefs knives that became basically petties over time with super skinny handles from all the cleaning that they do.
Yeah, they don't. This is the exact point I was making with the Magnolia handle. They don't grind down. They just be ground. Well, they don't intentionally grind down. They use them every single day for say 15 years. They will the magnolia wood or the whole wood is soft enough to start to carve it down by itself. That's why you see those skinny handles on those. And also the water buffalo horn also wears down as well. That's why you see that so skinny handles from those Japanese professional chef kitchens.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It's like if you wear the same ring your whole life, and you look at a ring that somebody's worn their entire lifetime, it's skinnier in sections where it's been rubbing against your finger all the time.
Yeah, that's why, like, I'm sure those blacksmith hammers, like, if they hold it every single day, it will.
Yeah.
You see that the shape.
Yeah, well, you see, even where the blacksmiths stand, you see like divots in the floor where their feet go every day. Philip was saying, how about some Yanagiba Hambazuke?
I could do some Honbazuke. Yeah, sure. I have to time it. Depends on who makes it. Depends on all the straightness and stuff. It can take up to an hour and a half, but just me doing this. So I explained the Honbazuke in my show before as well as I could show it as well. It just sometimes it takes a lot longer than that I would like to, but absolutely we can talk about that too.
That's the concave backing on the knife, right?
Well, it's the both. Like you have to do the concave backing, the uraoshi, super flat. Also
Right.
the bevel, the kajioshi or the blacksmith sharpening, or even like sharpeners. The bevel has tiny bit of the unevenness. So you
Okay, interesting.
stones to take all the imperfections, make it the super straight and even. And
Wow.
so that's a little bit of work. Yeah. So and I can definitely cover that as well as the some cheating way of doing that as well.
Right.
Because it takes.
Yeah, so some hacks for the people like myself that are too lazy to put the work in.
Well, for a couple, first or second sharpening, you could do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fighting Usyk just mentions the keen eye will spot the barkeeper's friend in Naoto's workspace there. Great product, and it's not the same as Comet, which is very true. It's definitely not the same.
Yeah, this is cool. We sell them in our shops now, and
yeah,
it's not the same as Comet. This works much better, especially for the night, like our purpose, right? Taking the rust off the knives. Also, like it has good polished agent in it, so that it makes that the knife a little bit more like a smoky colored as well.
Oh, nice.
Like the shimo, you can use this to bring most like very similar finish back.
Interesting. That's really handy to know because that can be a tricky effect to get if you're thinning out, hot rodding your knife.
Yeah. Talking about the hot rodding or thinning or making those finish back, definitely the topics are like something like acid etching. We have I should have a little bit more like this acid kicking around.
Just a casual tube of acid.
And we will have something try to bring back multiple different finishes. That's something that we want to talk about as well, like a shimo, kumo, or also kiri. I'm working on to get the very similar finish to the kiri, which is Damascus, but it's got a little bit more smoky finish to it. I have been working with this supplier that buys these powders to get those finishes back. So I am thinking of getting those.
Nice. Hey, Christian Bouchard, who was viewing earlier, who had the Yuki that you're rehandling, said, need to head out to make dinner, but thanks for showing the rehandling. Sounds like Christian's excited to get that knife back.
We'll give you a call as soon as that knife comes back in at the shop, which most likely on Monday sometimes.
Awesome. A few more comments here. Yusik just says, new Knifewear t-shirt. I was peeling a mountain yam yesterday. Maybe with a picture of Naoto on it. I like that. And Damon was the one looking at the Mizaki there. Says, thanks, Naoto. I think I like that thick heel. Usually I like to sharpen my heels at a higher angle and then the tip, which I agree with. I do that on my Hanasukis, but in general, like it's nice to have a bit of a tougher heel on the back of your knife. The part of the knife that's going to get the most abuse.
Yeah, that's what I do. I generally change the angle a little bit because this could be an advanced little bit of technique as well. You don't have to sharpen the knife like this at the same angle for all the way. I change it thick and thin.
Right.
And
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, depends on what you like to cut. Another topic that I was thinking is that the best edge for, like, say, what's the best edge for cutting this? What's the best edge for cutting this?
Yeah.
What's the best method of sharpening, or why, and all that stuff? I kind of wanted to talk about that as well at some point, because that's something that I was thinking of, like, say, what's the best edge for cutting carrots?
Yeah.
But more like specifically, say, what's the best edge to inch medallion? Like, this should be different. Making the medallions to the super fine juliennes, it should be slightly different.
That makes sense. Mike was talking. He wants to make a YouTube series about that. Like, have a cured sausage, for example, and cut it with like 8 different knives and figure out which one's the best for cutting it different ways. And I like that. I like that sort of idea. Last week we were talking about different kinds of edges being better for different people, and how a lot of the sharpeners don't take the edges as high as some of us would maybe think they should, or think they would, or assume they would. And I think that'd be a great topic to talk about, because the edge that the average home cook, like my mom, needs versus what you would want, or what our viewers would want, or what a professional chef who's like really, really trashing their knives every day would want. It's going to be different for everybody. Some edges are going to chip more easily. Some are going to feel a lot smoother. Some are going to stay sharp longer.
Yeah. So that's something that it's good. I think topic to cover in our show, I guess, right?
Yeah, I agree. I'll add that to the list. James Wang says he feels that Mizaki's taper feels very similar to Kiyoshi Kato's, and he thought that maybe he trained with Kiyoshi Kato at one point.
No, Mizaki never trained with Kiyoshi Kato. Kiyoshi-san is like pretty much by himself. Mizaki-san used to be trained with the at the Yoshikane, right? So it's got a little bit of similar feel to it. But the Mizaki-san's taper is a little bit more close to Shigefusa than the Kiyoshi. But the Kiyoshi-san's a little bit more like even all the way. Like this, I found that particular Mizaki goes like this and little bit thicker at the very end here. So it's slightly different there. And also the little there. I'm
Interesting.
30.
No, I like it. Jordan Sue, who works in our Vancouver store, says, anyone seen that skeleton-looking Yanagiba that Francis repaired about 3 weeks ago? Looks like a weapon dropped from a skeleton monster in an RPG. Now I really want to see it. I couldn't find it on his Instagram, Jordan.
I think I've seen that.
If you have a photo, Jordan, send it. Email it to me, and I'll put it up.
RPG. We should just like text the Francis right now and say, hey.
Yeah, I'll text him right now. I got his number. Blank said, we were talking about Barkeeper's Friend. It said, that's got to be the powder that I see Togi use. Do you know if that's the case?
Not quite sure if the Togi uses that powder. Togi-san uses a lot of different powders, and often the what he uses is the powders that's made out of. We do have those secret powders as well. Togi uses a lot
Very
of
suspicious looking.
Right.
just as a note, we receive bags of these sharpening powders from our suppliers in Japan, unmarked, just in a box with our other products, and somehow they never get confiscated at the border. They're definitely not drugs, though. They're for sharpening.
A powder of those natural stones and a combination of the stones. So we could use those to polish them or make that kasumi and stuff like that. Barkeeper's Friend is very North American, I think. Not quite sure if there is the very similar product that the Japanese uses called the kitchen cleanser. It's a cleansing, or polishing powders, and that's what maybe what he's using for that kind of purposes.
Okay, and blank says that was what they were talking about, was the polishing stuff, the secret powders, as they say.
Yeah, we have a few kicking around right here. Yeah, I haven't been able to utilize them as much as I should, but that's something that I maybe do. Like next to the
and Fighting U6 says Tony Montana Naoto. You might be too young to catch that one. I don't know. I think Naoto's old enough.
No,
if I'm old enough to get that reference, I think Naoto is.
I guess like I didn't grow up great. I didn't grow up here, right? So that's the.
Well, Naoto, when you're off this weekend, you have to watch Scarface with Al Pacino.
Scarface, yeah. I know of it.
Yeah.
I know of it.
We can do maybe in the summer we'll do a parody video where Naoto's got a big pile of sharpening powder and a silk flower shirt on at a desk. I think that would be a good shirt.
Yeah. Sorry.
Fighting U6 says, I'm 50 freaking years old, and now you people wanted to tell me about altering the angle along the blade, and now I have to experiment with that. I'm not sure if I'm pissed or excited. Yeah.
Sharpening is like it's a never-ending experimental thing, I think. So that it's you could do this. It's all that never ends. It's
Yeah, you think you know everything, and then somebody. It's like science. The more your what do they say? The more your like sphere of what you know increases, the more you realize how much you don't know, and how much more there is to learn.
It's like all the blacksmith tells me, they never be perfect. They keep doing they keep developing their skills and keep learning. They never be a perfect. Right?
Yeah, and that's I think if you get to the point, I mean, when I worked in restaurants, you see this a lot with chefs. If you get to the point where you think you're the best and you're perfect, you're probably going to start sucking because you get really kind of complacent. You just think you're good enough. But if you're always kind of pushing yourself to be better and seeing how you can improve, then you're going to continue to improve, and you'll become the best.
To the sharpening, right? Because like you think, oh, you get the really, really good edge, and you hit the ceiling once, and like, oh, why can't I do this? And you keep doing stuff.
Yeah, those frustrating moments are really useful because they show you that, hey, you're not actually as good as you think you are. You still got a whole ton to learn, and then you have to kind of, build on that. And I really like it. While we're talking sharpening, blank says, speaking of edges, do you see the list of stones I used for the knife I made dinner with? I was on a coarse edge kick, and now I'm doing a lot of fine edges. Yeah, I want to pull that list up. I did see it, but I was just finding the right moment to mention it. Because blank said it cut tomato beautifully, but a lot of people get really fine edges and find they can't cut a tomato super well. Blank says, went 300, 1,000, auto, king 4,000. Kitayama 8000, then stropped with 0.5 micron green compound. So do you know why that might be, Naoto, that some people find they get a really smooth edge and it's just not like cutting tomatoes well?
Tomatoes, no, a little bit, but I found the really hardest thing is that like something a little bit more slippery, like fish skins and stuff like that. It's like there's something that you need a little bit more bite to. Like we had a case that one guy who who he thought the finishing everything in 8000 is fantastic, but he was finishing the deba with 8000 and tried to cut the fish skin. He was struggling a little bit, so I suggested them to finish at say 2000 to leave a little bit more jaggedness. That made it much easier. Finer, that is definitely you lose a little bit of teeth, but you're making that edge finer, thinner. So like you've seen the tricks on the tomato, like you leave tomatoes or the like grapes and stuff like that on the cutting board and cut it horizontally without touching it. Definitely, you can do it with a much finer grit edge. I still like to finish at anywhere like a 4000. It's just really the balance between the retention and the fineness as well. And I find that it's a little bit more multi-purpose edge than the 8000, but nothing wrong with finishing with 8000.
Cool. Yeah, it's just a matter of kind of taking your time to do it properly, right?
Yeah.
Got a couple more good questions here. This is one that we should maybe add to our list because Tim Chan asks, is there already a video tutorial on how to use the powders and pastes for polishing? So good alliteration.
Don't a solid video, but that's really great. The only as being this makes it a little bit hard because each knife reacts differently on each polishing powders. So we could definitely have a here's how you remove the rust video for sure, right, Nathan? Right. So this is how you remove the rust with the particular strand. Hey, you got the super rusty shimo. This is how you can do that kind of video for sure. I have been working. I've been talking about the doing a little bit of a different type of kasumi finish, which is the smoky on the soft steel and the very fine coarse steel, the shiny fine coarse steels and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I just want to say, keep recommending ideas, folks, because the more ideas you give us, the more relevant videos we can make that you actually want to tune in and watch. So I was just taking notes there while you're talking. What's that?
No, I know you're taking notes, so I was.
Oh yeah. I was going to say the removing rust. We're actually Mike and I are going to shoot that in his kitchen next week, and it'll be out probably in the next month or so. So we will have one about that pretty soon. But as far as I like the idea of doing different stones to finish your knife on. We don't currently sell any polishing powders at the moment, do we? Besides Barkeeper's Friend.
We don't. So that's something that we could definitely talk about it. Like we sell these, like we don't sell these, but these are basically stones that's
yeah,
in small, right?
Yeah.
So we could do that too.
Yeah, that sounds great. Cool. So oh, here we go. Yeah, so in relation to what we were talking about with fine grit finishing, Blank saying, yeah, altering the angle thing was a real wow moment for the first time I heard Naoto say it. Yeah. I think he's referring to kind of like the different angles on the different parts of the knife.
Wow moment for me that I learned at the Masashi Fujihara-san's place. Like, makes total sense. Yeah, that's how that's been made, and yeah, so that was good. And if you sharpen the knife enough, you should be able to do that. It's not really hard to change the angle as along the way. So
yeah, once you get a feel for setting your angles, I don't think it's especially difficult. Yeah. Fighting Yusuk was asking, speaking of Hanasukis, do you guys have a preference for wa or yo handles, so Western or Japanese handles?
I guess We like our selection. We have a lot more wa handle Honosuke's, eh? Yeah, I like it because it the I can put. I'm just gonna bring a that.
Yeah, as far as handles go, I know we've got the for Western handles, for Yo handles, we've got the Tojiro DP and we've got the Masakage Zero. So we've got the $100 one and the $600 one.
I like the wa handle probably because I can get in a little bit more closer. Like my finger sits like right here and do this.
Yeah, when you use a Hanazuki, it's almost like it's an extension of your finger. Like you're just drawing lines on the chicken and dissecting it that way. It's kind of like you're using a scalpel in a way.
So yeah, I think I like this one better. To be quite honest, I don't have Honesuki yet. I know, I don't have
You don't have a Hanazuki yet.
Honesuki yet, but
I'll be honest, I don't have a Hanazuki either. I've used lots and I've borrowed one the shop samples, but I don't own one yet.
I don't own it. I use at home. I use very small deba to butcher chicken. But yeah, maybe time. I just bought myself 240 millimeters Gyuto, right? So it's gonna it'll be a little while until
Yeah, that's an investment.
yeah it'll be
And that, you got a fancy one. You sunk some money into that thing.
I'll be a while until I can justify myself.
Mm.
Well, myself.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's more like a my wife.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's always that angle. You got to sell it.
I buy it, maybe like hide it for a little while until.
Yeah, I've done that. I tried to do that years ago with somebody that I was dating at the time, and they happened to come into the store as I was paying for my Moritaka Hanazuki, and so I didn't end up getting one, but I would have had one were that not the case.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention real quick. So last week we were talking a lot about knife sharpeners, and we kind of came to the realization that a lot of these folks are kind of overshadowed by blacksmiths and other knife makers. And some of you, I know, Fighting Usyk and a few other folks had asked specifically if we could kind of highlight the sharpeners a little bit. And so we just started a project today. We were talking to our web manager, and so we're going to start kind of incorporating the information about who sharpened different knives. Not every knife sharpener wants to be well known, but for the ones that do, working them into the product descriptions on our website, and then down the road this year build some blogs and more information about these knife sharpeners. So as always, thanks for the recommendations, because they help us do better stuff and have more fun and serve you folks better.
Yeah. Also, I am starting to talk with the knife makers, namely like Sakai Takayuki, who usually say the sharpeners' names, but often most of those knives are sharpened by the Yamatsuka family. But there are a few knife lines I'm not quite sure of, so I will be getting into a little bit more to like more details on sharpeners. And I know Aoki-san from the Sakai Takayuki was very similar. You know, like all those blacksmith gets all the attention, and like the sharpeners like Yamatsuka-san never gets the same attention as the blacksmith. So I'll talk to Mel about it, saying, hey, you know, we should probably promote a little bit more. And of course, as Nathan said, there are a lot of knife sharpeners that never been mentioned for some reason, but we have to respect that as well, and that's how.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we want to work with them in the way that they want, but for the people that want that recognition, then we're hoping to give it to them in any way we're able. Speaking of recognition, DHop310 was asking, are there any North American knife makers that have caught Naoto's eye from a quality standpoint?
Quality standpoint is hard. Definitely the Bob Kramer's great blacksmith. I've seen his work. Like I was fortunate enough, like there was a guy who had a real Kramer's knife and brought it in and sharpening, fin and finish, smithing work, and stuff like that. Really, really fantastic. The thickness, it's more North American style, so it's got a lot thicker spine and edge profile is a little bit thicker as well as not as thin as I would like to. But the fit and finish and the job it's done was really really well. I have not seen the real I have not seen the work or the knife that's made by the famous one, the Murray Carter, but he seems to be doing pretty fairly well. I've seen I've seen the Japanese so-called variety show that he was featured, and he was doing quite well. So but I haven't really seen much North American. I've seen like some Instagram the works that on the Instagrams that seems like it's really 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 well. I can't recall the names, but there are a few knife makers in North America for sure. That's like good.
Yeah, like anything, like as it becomes more popular and as more people get into it, the overall quality is going to rise because there's more knowledge and there's more people like applying themselves and making careers out of it. So it's kind of slowly creeping up, but it's a much different knife making style than Japanese knives, right? So if Japanese knives are your quality bar, it's kind of like comparing different sports, right? Like they're all knives, but they're doing different things. They're designed differently with a different mentality.
There are a few knife makers in North America that makes very similar to the Japanese style, like thickness and that kind of stuff as well. So I'm really interested, but as we have more connection to back in Japan. That's why we don't have those knives. But,
yeah, that makes sense. If you are looking for more North American knives, we carry a few more at our sister store, Kent of Inglewood. The knives we carry there are for outdoor stuff, so they're more hunting, camping, bushcrafting, that kind of stuff. But we carry some Canadian-made stuff from Groman. We carry some that are made in Calgary by a good friend of mine, Chris Green, and he makes some really cool knives for, again, like hunting and bushcrafting and that kind of thing. And so they're much different. They're not, if you're looking for kitchen knives, you won't find them there, but there's some pretty cool stuff. Blank was talking about show topics. Are you guys going to do natural stones in the future anytime soon? I missed that one when we did it before.
We can, and we can even do recorded the videos as well for some time to time. We haven't planned them yet, but this live show we do it every week, so we can pull out any topics that the people may want, right? So definitely the natural stone is another topic that we can definitely talk about.
Yeah, and it's such a broad topic that's takes so long to kind of understand. I think doing multiple episodes or one every few months to refresh people is not a bad idea. So a bit of an update here. We're working on recording more of our kind of weekly videos that we put out. Right now we've been putting out knife skills videos with Mike, but we're adding to that, doing more stuff with Naoto again, and we're going to start pumping out 1 or 2 sharpening videos every month. So keep your eyes open for that on our YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, I'm just going to say it again, subscribe to our YouTube channel. But we will have stuff that's more technical. Once we've covered a few more basic kind of concepts, we're going to get into things like natural stones and different knife finishes and stuff. And so keep requesting it, and it will happen. I think this year alone, we'll probably get out a natural stone primer video, and we're going to do one in a couple weeks about repairing chips and straightening knives and a few other stuff. So it's definitely in the works. Damon said, my one note would be more and better website pictures would be huge. I want to stare at photos of knives all day. Damon, let us know what you want to see. I mean, our project right now is to get all of our knives photographed, and that can be difficult because knives are in high demand, and a lot of the knives we love are tough to get at the moment. But if there's specific kinds of shots that would be useful to you as somebody that likes knives and likes to buy knives, let us know, and we'll try to get our photographer to kind of incorporate those into his regular rotation. Because when he's in the studio taking photos of knives, it's not that much more work to take one more shot of the same knife or 2 more shots of the same knife. It's not a different photo setup, and so getting that to the rotation hopefully shouldn't be overly difficult. Few more comments here. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. Blank says, me neither. I need to buy so many things, all the different blade shapes, bunch of different knife makers, and about 1 million stones I want to try. I need more money. Yeah.
The fortunate thing about us, I guess, is that at the store level, we do have all the demo knives that we can test it on. Also, having known a lot of different knife makers profiles how the knife should be sharpened and testing on the nails and such, we start to realize how they should work by looking at it and touch them. Not, we don't have to actually use them on the food. I started to feel by the how it tapers, how the edges actually sharpen, how smooth, that kind of stuff. I started to see how they work, and so that's good. I'm like, oh, this should cut like this, or that kind of stuff. So I feel like
yeah, we're pretty spoiled for choice and the opportunity to try and experiment, and with different stones too, right? Like we have like one of every stone in all of our stores because we want our staff to try them and be able to sell them properly. And
yeah, I'm spoiled that way, and also I feel like I've used a lot more knives than I actually have. Actually have used actually, but by testing edge and seeing the taper and all that jazz made me feel like I tested them all, but I haven't. But
totally, maybe that's why Kevin's collection is so out of hand these days, because he doesn't work in the shop anymore, so he has to actually buy a knife if he wants to know what it works like. Fighting Usyk, it's a great idea, content idea. Initial makeover of more budget-friendly or form over function knives. What you like to do to get it set up: soften up the spine of the choil angles, wax the handle, seal up the tang. So what you're saying, Fighting Usyk, is that we need to do a segment that's like pimp my knife. Like we take like kind of a cheap, basic Japanese knife, and we make it real sexy and fancy and work better. I like that idea.
Yeah. Well, I've been actually thinking of doing some. We should. There's a guy who gets a lot of viewers on YouTube. He was sharpening a Japanese dollar store knife.
Oh yeah, I've seen that video. Yeah, sharpening like a real cheap, like bought it at like the thrift store or something. Yeah. I like that kind of thing. Philip is asking, can you speak about repairing the ura side of a knife? What's the best way if you can't send the knife to Japan or to Naoto?
I have been practicing actually repairing this ura. I'm not perfect yet, but this had quite a bit of uraoshi. Uraoshi had become quite big. It was almost like about probably 5 millimeters. Uraoshi, for those of you who don't know, is this. I think it's just gonna show you this here. The ura, the back side of the Japanese single bevel knives, they have this concave, it's caved in part, as well as this flat part just along the edge and the spine here. And if you sharpen the back flat too long, too often and too much, what happens is this ura, the flat part, uraoshi, will become bigger, and it will take it just doesn't work as sharpening. What you could do is, what I've been practicing is using this one of the stone that spins vertically and puts the back and making that the urasuki again. I've been okay. This one here still needs a little bit more practice. It's getting better. I've done that the edge part of the oshi pretty okay. And this is really rough grind, so I can probably use some other stones to buff it up a little bit. But that's how I fix the ura, and this is the one of the newer tools that we've been using. So it's not perfect yet, but this is how we could do that.
Yeah, it's quite the task.
Yeah.
Tim Chan raises a really good point. Says it's probably hard to judge North American makers as most are only doing custom knives, and that's also when people ask us why we don't sell them. That's one of the reasons. First, we're a Japanese kitchen knife store. Second, it's just hard to get a reliable supply. Most of the guys we buy from in Japan, they make, you know, a bunch of the same knife on a regular basis, and a lot of these, you know, more, I'm going to call them like Instagram knife makers, just because, you know, that's kind of how they grow their audience, and they do tend to do more of those flashier custom knives that are really awesome. A lot of them just make one of the same knife and then they make something else totally different. And I think it's a really cool way for them to operate. Like I said, my friend Chris does that. Every knife he makes is different. And I think for a maker, that's an incredible thing to be doing. As a retailer, it's our worst nightmare, because we can, you know, we can never get a consistent supply of knives. And so we often, unless it's for the garage sale or something like that, we don't buy too much like custom work. Yeah. Damon said, how about make a Kiwi knife worth $200? That would be kind of fun.
I have to think, like, yeah, the Kiwi knife. I can't remember what they look like.
You remember Evan that used to work in the warehouse? He had one for like just cutting up his lunch. They're just like thin. They're not bad, but they're just super cheap and cheerful, you know. I think like $10-20, like thin stamped steel kind of thing. Yeah. Well, it's 5:45 Mountain Time on Friday. Thank you, everybody that's been watching and asking so many great questions. Every episode, I think we're gonna, you know, run out of questions for viewers to ask, and somehow you folks just keep coming up with good questions to ask us. Specifically Naoto. Yeah, I mostly just talk, and he shares the interesting stuff. But we really appreciate everybody that's tuning in. Again, if you're not subscribed to our channel, we do these live videos every single week. Naoto and I are here every Friday. So if you do subscribe, that would be appreciated. We got a few more minutes to pop your last minute questions in, and then we'll probably sign off for the day. Before we do go, next week, Naoto and I are both going to be in the warehouse, and we're going to talk about axe sharpening. I do a lot of camping and spend a lot of time with axes in the summer. Naoto is the expert of all things sharp, and so we're going to bring kind of two different viewpoints. I'm going to bring some of my axes from home, and we're just going to hang out and sharpen some axes together. We've got some stones that we're testing that we don't even sell yet. We're kind of looking for some to retail at our other store, Kent of Inglewood. So we're going to be just kind of testing and hanging out and shooting the shit, probably having a beer for a couple hours next week. So make sure you catch that. Kevin and Chris are live on Tuesday with Japanese Knife 101. And they are changing to 1 p.m. Mountain Time, so make sure you catch that time change there. And then, as always, Sharpening Night in Canada is Thursday at 7:15 p.m. And another bit of good news, I just got the email today that webcams and mics and lights have been ordered. So hopefully by Friday, if not by Friday, then the following week, you will see us with higher resolution cameras and better lighting and better sound, and we're finally upgrading the quality of our videos. So thanks everyone that stuck around as we go through that process. Okay, a couple last minute questions here for you, Naoto. Blank says, what's your favorite stone of all time if you could only ever pick one stone?
The Knifewear 1000. I've used that stone before. It was basically we used that stone to be a Knifewear 1000 stone. We used them before from the manufacturer Naniwa, and we liked it. I really liked it. It's just really versatile stone to make a kasumi, put the edge, and it's soft. You have to chew them a little bit more often, but the response that you get on the stone from the stone to the knife and the finger and all, like how you feel them is so good. So if I were to choose one, that's definitely the one I would choose.
Yeah. I mean, are we allowed to cheat and say combination stone? Does that count?
Yeah, sure.
No, that's a good choice. I think if I was going to pick a stone that wasn't the Knifewear 1000, because Naoto already picked that one, I would probably pick the Naniwa Chosera 400 because it cuts steel really fast. You can hot rod on it, And honestly, if that was the only edge I could use on a kitchen knife for the rest of my life, I'd be fine with that. It's, I'm not a sushi chef. I just cook food and I can use it to sharpen an axe and a hunting knife and a camping knife and my wood carving knives. I can pretty much anything in my house that I need sharp, I can make sharp on the Kyocera F400. So yeah, if I couldn't go for Knifewear 1000, it would be that guy. Got some lovely notes from our friends here. Jane Wang says, awesome content. See you guys next week. Blank says, thank you. And Craig's Kitchen Rocks also says, thank you. My mouse isn't working now. Sweet. And we got some folks that are going to tune in next week for the Axis. So that's awesome. And then Naoto, Blank asks, I also wanted to ask what the stone Naoto checks the Ocean. You've got that stone that you use just to check how your sharpening is going.
Kensho Itadaki, the white Itadaki series, 1000 or 3000. I think we're out of 3000 right now, but I use either. Actually start from Kensho Itadaki 3000. I don't think we have them in stock right now, but we have 1000. But yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Interesting comment from Fighting Yusik here. Maybe become a kitchen knife forum vendor so you can promote your videos. I know that might be sticky, but might help you get the word out. Naoto, you probably know a little more about some of the forums than I do. No, I've been really bad at hanging out on the forums. Just because it's such a rabbit hole. You can spend so much time on. I used to spend a lot of time on message boards when I was younger, and you can really just sink a lot of time into it. But I'd be curious to know, Yusik, if you have recommendations or maybe some advice. You've got both of our emails now, so feel free to send that my way. I deal with more of our marketing type stuff, so this isn't a thing I'm even aware of, and I would appreciate just a bit of advice or a crash course if you have the time.
Time on the forums. It's good at that.
Right on. And he said him and Blank are both there under different names, which I think I saw you guys chatting about last night. Okay, lastly, to see us out tonight, this is the Yanagiba that Francis prepared the other day that Jordan said looked like it was dropped by a skeleton boss in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, that's definitely the one that the guy used for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, I remember seeing this now. I thought we were going to mention it when we were talking about rehandling today, but one of the unfortunate reasons why we have to rehandle knives for people, and it's always shocking, even though I've seen it a lot of times now, is because somebody's dog has got a hold of the knife and it's managed to just gnaw the handle to shit. And the dog, as far as I know, has never been hurt in the story. Nobody's dog has ever got hurt by one of our knives that we're aware of. But it's always managed to just get the knife off the counter and chew the handle apart. And people come home to their dog walking around like a pirate with the handle of a knife in its mouth, which is simultaneously hilarious and terrifying and somewhat concerning for the dog. But it sounds like the dog was fine. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Naoto, you got any closing comments?
No, it's good. Just check us out every week. I will probably see you all next week.
Yeah, and we're going to be taking Good Friday off. It's a stat holiday in Alberta, so in 2 weeks there will be no show. I'm sorry, but Naoto and I will be off drinking beer probably. But other than that, thank you everyone so much for tuning in. That was a lot of fun as always. This is the end. This is how I get to end my week every week, and I always look forward to it. So I appreciate it, everyone. Thanks, right. Naoto.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, happy Friday, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.